Hi everybody, so I'm Leslie and I wanted to try to put together a tutorial because I figured out something kind of cool and I thought I'd share it. So I've been doing these glitter tumblers for a little while now. It's actually been kind of a process over the past year. I started out with painted tumblers. I graduated a little bit to using epoxy resin, and then I kind of went into glitter, and it's just been, whew, glitter's an addiction, resin's an addiction. So anyways, so I have just, done a lot of different things with the glitter tumblers and I still do the painted tumblers. I just kind of, whatever my customers want is what I do. But one of the things that has always frustrated me has been with the chunky glitter and being able to get a really smooth surface with the chunky glitter. There was, before I figured out the whole sanding thing, I was like adding like layer and layer of epoxy just to try to get a smooth surface, and it still didn't even work that good. And then I had this like 10-pound cup, which not everybody likes that. So anyways, this is going to be a tutorial about how to get a really smooth surface and use chunky glitter. I'm going to use the epoxy method to apply my glitter. So what I'm going to use, I use the crystal clear epoxy from East Coast Resin, which I've already got it mixed up and ready to go here. So that's a fun thing too, learning how to mix epoxy without getting a bunch of air bubbles. But I gotta tell you, I don't really care about the air bubbles on this first step, because I'm going to be putting the glitter and everything on it, so the air bubbles are going to work themselves out. So usually in my following steps, I really worry about the air bubbles. So I'll show you some tricks about that too. Also I'm going to be using this kind of shredded glitter by Recollections. It's a multi-pack. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with this cup. This is my personal wine tumbler. I stripped it because I just was ready for something different. So I was thinking, well, this has got a really cool combination of colors. I'll just use this. So I'm going to use this. Okay, so let's get started here. I am going to get some gloves. And also, this is going to happen over a course of days. So the next time you see me, I'll be in different clothing, probably my nursing scrubs, because that'll be tomorrow. Okay, got one last good mix here. The other thing, just a little tidbit on epoxy, don't whip it. When I first started working with epoxy, I thought you had to just really mix it and whip it, and don't do that, because that just injects more air bubbles into the epoxy. So you just want to stir it gently. You want to scrape the sides and stir. You just want to make sure you stir it for a few minutes. I think I watched a video where somebody had sped up the time, and so it really looked like they were whipping it. And that's how I learned how not to do epoxy, because I whipped it and then. Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to use a wine tumbler, but of course you can use any size tumbler that you want. I just happen to like wine. So this is my therapy. When I work all day and I come home, the first thing I do is check on my cups. work on my cups. What day is it? It's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. My husband's upstairs making tacos for Tuesday. Okay. So you just want to make sure that your cup has got a good cover or a good layer, I should say, of the epoxy resin. Should be relatively smooth. I'm using a cup turner. I think that's really the only way that you can actually do a wine tumbler is if you have a spinner, because I tried this before I had those spinners and they turned out terrible. So with the glitter ones, the painted ones weren't bad, but okay, I like to use a glove also. I think that seems to work better with the distribution of the epoxy compared with using the brushes, the foam brushes. I like just using a regular glove the best.
I'll get the bathroom first.
Okay, sorry about that. My kids have friends over, so they're all being pretty rowdy right now. Okay, so now we're gonna start with just our glitter application. There's no like rhyme or reason to this. You just start sprinkling. They think I'm talking to Okay, next up, and we're going to have the pink color. And for this cup, I'm not really doing any particular pattern. I'm just kind of sprinkling it on there. When I'm done, this should have complete coverage. The bottom I will deal with last, and I'll show you how I like to do that. It's kind of cool, like these containers that have the multi-colors in them, because you don't have to worry about messing up your color palette because the thought has already been taken care of. So you know these colors are going to work good together. Because sometimes I have to do some colors and I'm like, when I'm done, I'm like, ew, it doesn't look as good as I thought it was going to. So I think I got this at Michael's. That's where I picked it up at. Okay, so that was the blue, this is the purple. And this will give it, the nice thing about doing it this way is it just kind of gives it like a depth. Just random. Alright, next up is a pinker pink. Actually, these are all pretty much the same colors now. Is it the same? No, it's a little different. And I love the chunky glitter cups. I think the reflection on chunky glitter is just superior. So, so it was really important for me to find a way to make these smoother so that I could like them even more. It's gonna need more green, which is coming up next. So we'll just probably try to find any open spots. That's pretty good. Okay, now we'll go back over with the green a little bit. I want that pink and purple to come through pretty good too, so I don't want to overcover with the green and the blue. But all right, I think I'm liking that. Okay, so the next thing I do is kind of tap it down with my gloved hand, just very lightly, because I don't want to get stuck to it with the epoxy. Try to get those flakes to kind of go down a little bit, but don't worry about it. If it sticks up a little bit, it's okay, because we're going to fix that later. That one's not going to want to move. I'm going to have to put some more stuff on that one. Sometimes when you're doing this, you make bare spots on the cup, and you just have to fill it back in when it comes back around. So this will help me minimize the amount of sanding that I have to do later. I'm just gonna get rid of that fleck. It's not gonna behave. Tweezers would work, by the way, if you have any tweezers. I just don't have them right next to me right now to pull off any of those weird flakes that you're not gonna get laid down. So. Okay, it's not terrible. A little bald spot right there. I'm gonna fill it in with pink, or it's like more of a rosy color. Rose gold, so it's like kind of pink, purple, rose gold. My thing is about to fall off. I need to glue my pipes better. Have some better coverage, I think. All right. Okay, so I still have to get the bottom. Oh, that'll be all sticky. What I use to collect my wax, or what I use to collect my glitter at the bottom is just some wax paper. But it has like the crease in it because I get the stuff from Zam. So I'll grab one more. And I get one more sheet here. So it's kind of super cheap, probably biodegradable. But just kind of crease it up there. And then I kind of just use this to pour it and shake on the bottom, because it's always super tricky to try to get the glitter on the bottom of the cup. So that usually works pretty well. Yeah, worked good. And then I will save my glitter because I'm frugal, super frugal, because it's glitter. So I'll take my kind of mixture that I've made doing this. I'll put it into a little Dixie cup, and then I'll find some reason to use this on a cup that I do pretty soon. So I just kind of set it to the side, and now I've got a pretty glitter mix. Alright, some of these are going to stick up, and it's okay because I'll use tweezers. Once the epoxy's all cured and stuff, I can just pull some of that off with tweezers. And then, so the next step after this, so this is going to cure for till tomorrow. I'll come back, add another coating of epoxy resin. I'll try to smooth it out a little bit before I do that. And then that's when we'll get to the smoothing, because we want a very smooth cup. So, all right, I will see you next time. In a few minutes, really, just like a second. And we're back. Okay, so while I was away, or while I was gone, I went ahead and did that next coat of epoxy, so it's got that on there. Before I did that, I tried to pluck off some of the glitter that was standing straight up. Obviously I didn't get it all because there's still quite a bit, but I have that first coat of epoxy over the glitter, so that brings us to the next step, which is going to be the buffing or sanding kind of thing, so that we can get this really smooth. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be kind of noisy, so if you want to turn your sound down, I don't blame you. I probably won't talk much. Things that you will need: safety goggles, and I have a Dremel 7300, which is just a simple hand tool drill. So, which has a lot of different things you can put on it. It's got a sander tip, it's got a buffing tip, some other thing, I don't know. But this is pretty much what I use it for. Okay, bear with me, guys. Oh, alright. So, okay, good enough. Alright, so a lot of times when I do this, I like to use my touch, my sense of touch, because if it feels sharp on my finger, it needs to be buffed. So this is going to look really messy, but it's going to clean up beautifully. So, so you just kind of feel the spot. Make sure you have your goggles on, because there could be some flyaway stuff. And just, let me see if I can, let me move that. You can try to eyeball it, but honestly, I do better with touch. That one was a bigger one. I'll get to the edges really at the end. Oh, and of course, hang on. Battery's running low. Okay. Okay, so where do we leave? Sorry, I know that light has a glare behind me there. I find that right at the curves of the cup is where it seems to be the worst, for the most part. Probably because the epoxy doesn't accumulate right there. It's thinner right there. So I kind of go back over my spots and just make sure it's nice and smooth. And don't worry about losing the shine. You'll get the shine. We'll get there. You just don't want the bump. Because when you're drinking your wine, the last thing you want to feel is bumps, right? Speaking of wine, I'm probably going to be drinking epoxy. It's fine. So, I think the body of the cup feels pretty good. I mean, obviously it's going to feel rough in the areas where I sanded, but it shouldn't be bumpy. I shouldn't feel anything sticking me. There's a little bump right there. Not too bad. So I just kind of let my fingers manage it, because my eyeballs deceive me. Okay, now, the bottom is its own special thing. So it's usually the edges that are more bumpy, so we're gonna just place this all around the edges or at the bottom there. And you don't want to use the sander too long in one spot because you do not want to heat up the epoxy. You just want to sand it down. You don't want to make it smoke. Okay. The center feels nice, so we'll leave that alone. It still feels a little bumpy. Okay, and then the last part, so I do that, and then I get the top. So around the top, especially on the inside, get rid of all that junk. It doesn't need to be there. I mean, you guess you could use a knife to get that on there too. A smooth edge knife will get the stuff off the center. But this works too. probably be a good idea to wear a mask maybe, because now I'm feeling like it's a little dusty, but I'll wear a mask next time. So. It's always the hardest, I think, to get the smooth part on the chunky glitter right at the top edge. So it's a little more work. But I don't need it super smooth right there. I need it to be not sharp because... And a lot of people don't like to go all the way up to the top. I also realize that. I do. I don't... It's... because some people don't want to put their mouth on the dried epoxy, but I don't really find it to be a health hazard. Once you get this all, that's just me. I'm super like, whatevs, man. So it's not like I'm drinking out of an asbestos cup or anything. So I feel, I don't know. We'll see what the research shows in 20 years. Anyways. But if you want to, you can always tape the top off, and then you can leave that rim just the stainless steel and do your glitter from there. I like to go all the way to the top. That's just my personal preference because, you know, me. Okay, so now give me a second. I'm going to get a couple of supplies real quick. I'll turn the video off so you don't have to wait on that, and then I'll show you the next part. Okay. So I've got some epoxy ready. I'm going to let that rest for a minute. It's kind of good to let it rest and let the air bubbles come to the top, and then I'm going to show you my little trick for, it's not really my trick, I learned it from the internet, to get the air bubbles out, and it works really well. So the next thing I'm going to do, I've got my acetone, 100% acetone. It doesn't matter what brand. I'm happening to be using Onyx Professional. It's meant for nails, but I chew on my nails, so I use it on my cups. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over my cup where I did the sanding, well, pretty much the whole cup, with some acetone just to clean it up. Acetone kind of affects epoxy a little bit, where it kind of weakens it a little bit too, so I think it does kind of help just buff out that little area where I did the sanding, brings a little shine back to it. Oh, those smells. So, my kitty cat is playing with my stuff. So this is what I do. I come home from work, I work a long shift, and then I play with glitter because it makes me feel happy. Kids are upstairs playing, and my husband's watching hockey or baseball or some crap, I don't know. So, glitter. My teenage daughter is in her room doing whatever teenage girls do in their seclusion, and so I glitter. I think it's pretty good. Then when I add the epoxy here, it's gonna really bring that shine back. This would be a good time to throw a decal on there, because I'm probably only gonna put one more coat of epoxy on there because I just don't want it to be super heavy. Actually, I'll probably go ahead and just slap a decal on this real quick while I have a second. Since this is gonna be my tumbler. And I wanted it to have a big L on it, so I'll do that real quick before my epoxy has time to start curing on me here. Okay, so I will be back. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so get my gloves on here. And the next thing we're gonna do is put the epoxy on. So I was able to put a nice little decal on there. L is for Leslie or Laverne. I'm Leslie, but I like Laverne too. And it's I don't know if you can see it, but I used the glitter vinyl, silver glitter vinyl. It makes it look really sharp. I don't know if the camera really does it justice, but also L is for love. So love glitter. The next thing we're going to do is put our next layer of epoxy on it, which will hopefully be our final layer. Of course, if there's any major issues, I can always sand it down again and put another layer, but I don't want it to be super heavy. I like it to be, you know, kind of light. Too many layers of epoxy just really weighs it down, and then you're just weightlifting and drinking, which is probably not a bad thing, but at any rate. So, okay, so we're gonna get our football on. Now this one, I'm not gonna put it on the single turner this time. I'm gonna put it on the multi-turner. But since I'm gonna do that, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the epoxy while I'm holding it, and then I'll just screw it onto my multi-cup turner. So, just personal, because I need my single cup turner for something else I'm gonna work on after this. So, got 3 more cup orders at work today. Those nurses. That's where you get your business. To find those nurses. Okay, epoxy, I've got it ready. I'm gonna go ahead and use my heat tool just to get some of those air bubbles popped, which have mostly come to the top at this point. You don't want to overheat your epoxy. But it does help get those air bubbles out. You also don't want to get the heat tool too close to the epoxy because you don't want it splashing up in your face, which, speaking of, would probably be a good idea to have my glasses down, but safety glasses, obviously. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, so it looks pretty good. And the other thing I can do once I get it on the cup is I can use the heat tool again just to pop any bubbles, because I want to make sure it's super clear. No bubbles. We want it to be perfect. Well, it's my cup, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it close to perfect. So, okay, so we're just gonna pour that epoxy on there. I like to use my gloved hand because I can feel it smooth. Oh, that just shines right up. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Gorgeous. Everybody's gonna be so jealous of my wine tumbler. There's a few little spots there. I'm probably gonna have to shave those down later, but the bottoms, the cup bottoms, I tell you, those are the hardest parts, but the rest of it is just gorgeous. So, and this is going to be a good layer of epoxy. I'm not super chintzy on that. I like to be generous with my epoxy coat. I want it to be nice and thick because I want it to be super smooth. My work area is terrible. I don't know, like, it would make me feel better if you guys would tell me, like, how messy your work area gets, because I work in such epoxy glittery mess all the time. I mean, I go through and clean it, but man, it just stays wrecked. So I'm glad you guys can't see the disaster. I've only got the video where you can see what's right in front. The rest of it's bad. It's bad. But it's okay. My husband knows this is my happy place. Okay. I am going to get this on my turner. sounded really noisy. Don't worry, everything's fine. It's cool, it's cool. Okay, so the cup is on the cup turner. It's gonna do its thing overnight, and then I will hopefully have a pretty much finished product to show you in the morning. I mean, it takes about 24 hours for a cup to cure, so, but if it's cured enough where I can touch it, I will show it to you. And then hopefully tomorrow evening I'll have my new fancy wine glass, because this is what I'm currently working with, which is kind of ugly. I've had this for almost a year now. So this is one of my first cups. I did like this hydro dip thing. It was pretty cool. I mean, it was cool, but it was super ugly. So, anywho, but I'm upgrading right now. So I've spent so much time on everybody else's cups, but now it's time for me to do my own. Yay! All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Hello. Okay, so time for the big reveal. So this is the cup. Let's see. The L is pretty sparkly, but it doesn't. The lighting in here doesn't do it justice, does it? Okay. But it is super smooth. Oh my goodness, that is perfect. Super smooth. For a glitter cup, that's what you want. So anyways, I hope that helped. It's a little trick that I kind of picked up along the way. I saw some videos with people doing like hand sanding and things. I don't like touching sandpaper, so the little power tool thing is much more my thing. So and it works really good. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to do it, fine. If you want to hand sand, that's fine. But this worked really well for me. So thought I'd pass it along. Enjoy your. I'm gonna go wash this up and have some wine. So good night.